Okay, so everybody who is watching us right now, you'll receive this recording. There are some people who registered, said they would not be available at this time. They'll also receive this recording. But welcome everybody to the Master of Arts in Educational Ministries info session, a chance to learn more and meet some faculty and some students and recent graduates, as well as asking questions to your enrollment counselor, which is Alexander. I'm Ryan. I'm the Executive Director of Admissions in TEDS, and I'm going to play mostly a background function today, trying to keep an eye on the technology and hoping that works, keeping an eye on the Q&A. So you'll see the house rules for the attendees. We cannot see or hear the attendees, but hopefully you can see and hear us. So the way you can interact with us is through the chat box. You can chat anything you want there, and you can also toggle if you want it to go to a person or the panelists or everybody. You can also use the Q&A function. We're hoping that everybody submits at least one question and answer. We had some submitted ahead of time that we'll hope to answer today as well. Okay, probably this will go 45 to 55 minutes, and we appreciate your time. The first roughly half of it will be a presentation. We'll share some slides with you, share our screen with you, and then we'll stop that. If you're like me, and you might not be, but if you're like me, I'd recommend going into, you have the option to select speaker view or gallery view. You might want to do speaker view early on so you can see who's talking. Personally, that's what I prefer. And then usually during the Q&A function, when we see everybody's faces, it might be nice to go to gallery view. If you're not familiar with Zoom, you can do that in the upper right corner. If we get so many questions that we can't answer all of them, I doubt that'll happen, but if we get too many questions, we might just answer your question. One of us might answer your question directly by typing in a response to you, but we'll do our best to answer your questions out loud as much as we can. All right, so we will move on to the next slide, which is each of us. I've already introduced myself, so that's out of the way. You don't see my picture on there, but I'll have our panelists introduce themselves roughly in left to right order on the screen, and then we'll go over the agenda together. Take it away, Dr. Moore.
Okay, my name is Jim Moore. I'm a faculty member at Trinity, and I'm finishing my 25th year here, and I teach full-time in the Educational Ministries, Educational Studies area.
And I'm Donald Guthrie, also in the faculty at Trinity. Been back here, graduate actually, MDiv program back in the 80s, early 80s, and back teaching now. And Educational Ministries, also direct the PhD program in Educational Studies.
I'm Maiten Darrow. I recently finished the MAEM program. I'm an international student. I come from the Philippines.
And I'm Justin McFarland. I'm the youth pastor at Olivet Evangelical Free Church in Muskegon, Michigan, and I've just completed my first year of the Educational Ministries program and probably will graduate in about 2 more years.
Hi, my name is Paula Chang, and I also recently finished my MAEM, and I'm also an international student. I came from Argentina.
Nice.
Yeah.
My name is Alexander. I work in the graduate admissions office. For the most part, if you apply to the MA in Educational Ministry program, you will be corresponding a lot with me. I did my program. I have 2 masters from Trinity. One is in the theological studies, and the other one is in the educational ministry. So I've been a student in this program myself. So I'll be more than happy to answer your questions here and then even of the video.
Thank you, Alexander. You're a pleasure to work for, and you're an expert in this program. So everybody's fortunate to be able to work with you, having gone through the program. So very briefly, today's agenda. We'll talk. I'll call on Dr. Moore to introduce us more to the TEDS program for anybody who's not very familiar. Want to get you all on the same page, and also some details about the MAEM or Educational Ministries. We'll show you some slides with those, and then we'll take the slides off Alexander is going to interview our student and recent alumni panelists and try to find out more about their perspective of this program and why they chose it. And then finally, we'll end with Q&A. We'll leave plenty of time for Q&A. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but you can type in your questions into the Q&A. We might answer some of them by typing them out. We might answer some aloud. And without further ado, I'll send it back to Dr. Moore and Dr. Guthrie to introduce us to TEDS.
Sure. You can see the slide there in terms of TEDS and what we're about. We've been around Chicago for over 100 years, and many of you already are well aware of us and our global reach. We regularly have graduates. We have student body members from over 40 countries, as well as graduates in probably close to 100 countries. So the Lord has blessed us and enabled us to have a broad reach. We also have a broad breadth of denominations in our student body, and 40-some denominations in our student body, but we believe strongly in God's word, the scriptures. We're a rigorous academic school, but we work hard at application too in terms of your ministry context. So that's a little bit about the institution. Let me tell you a little bit about, first of all, the Educational Ministries, Educational Studies Department, and give you a bit of an overview there, and then I'll zero right in on the degree itself that we're talking about today. First, the Educational Ministries Department, we house two main degrees: Master of Arts in Educational Ministries, which is a 36-hour master's degree, and then we also house a PhD Educational Studies program, which is a terminal degree which looks at educational studies broadly, and thinking primarily about how do we think Christianly about education in the church, in our world context, in higher education, and those kinds of things. So we have those two degree programs, but we also have 3 certificates, 12-hour certificates. So it gives you just a bit of educational ministries is one certificate, teaching and learning is a second certificate, and organizational development is a third certificate. Each of those 12-hour certificates can be rolled into a master's degree as well. And with our teaching and learning and our organizational development certificates, we also have an executive track of 12 hours for people that are already post-master's degree that may be moving into higher ed or into an organizational context or something like that. So that's kind of the cadre of what we have in terms of in our department. We can help people out that are interested in education in all kinds of ways. So we're grateful to the Lord to be able to do that. Let me tell you just a little bit about the Master of Arts in Educational Ministries. It purposes, what we're about is trying to equip equippers. We're trying to equip equippers, thinking in terms of congregational or parachurch leadership, and trying to think collaboratively about ministry in those contexts, and to help people think about teaching and learning, broadly speaking. So some institutions choose to offer an education, maybe a spiritual formation, youth ministry, on and on and on, a list of degrees. We have chosen at Trinity to take the 30,000-foot look and focus on what are the big things that transcend education as we think about it, and then encourage people to drill down in their particular context. If they're interested in children's ministry, focus some classes on children's ministry. Focus your thinking on children's ministry. If you're interested in youth ministry, like Justin is, focus on youth. Think about youth as you're taking your classes. Justin probably won't forever be a youth pastor. And so we're trying to equip him to move not only in his present context, but also in terms of future context. So as a result of that, we accept both people who have an undergraduate program that may prepare them in Bible or youth ministry or something like that. But we also are open to have conversations with people that are experienced in ministry that want to, that may not have a bachelor's degree, but have been experienced in working in educational ministry broadly defined and want to apply for the program and certificate as well. So we want to have those conversations with you if you're one of those kind of persons as well. The program itself has 2 required components, a Bible theology 9-hour required component, and then a educational ministries 6-hour required component where we look first at educational ministries broadly, a course in Christian leadership, and a course in teaching and learning. And then beyond that, we work with you in developing things that are contextually relevant to your particular ministry needs and your particular ministry interests. Another unique thing about the program is we offer it in several modalities. Not only do we have traditional students on campus like Paula and I have been, who've taken the entire program on campus in regular classes, but we also have people like Justin who have taken the program both some classes on campus and some classes fully online. And we have other students that have taken classes fully online. The whole program is available fully online. And you can mix and match those modalities. Many of our on-campus classes are in some sort of short format. We do a lot of weekend classes, Friday, Saturday. We do some 4-day or 5-day classes and maybe even some 2-week classes. And you can mix and match these modalities as well. We do have some extension classes that we offer from time to time as well. So that's a real advantage too in terms of our thinking. Context is important to us. We want to be able to minister to you and to help you in your particular context with whatever your needs are in that particular way. Dr. Guthrie, do you have some things that you would add to my long spiel there?
Just one thing. The approach we take is a systems approach, both at a master's level and the PhD level. That is to say, we help the students understand the systems in which they find themselves: family systems, local church systems, nonprofit systems, higher education systems. Because the people that are in the programs that Dr. Moore's described are systems people. They're the glue people. They're the people who don't just do one thing. They help other people do lots of things. So that's intentional on our part to help you become equipped to address the system, both in which you find yourself and the systems with which you have partnership. So the curriculum, the internships, the practicums, and so forth, that kind of guides your study towards those conversations.
Yeah. Other questions from either Ryan or Alexander that would help give context here before we let somebody else talk?
Let's see. I guess this is a good time to ask one of the questions that was asked ahead of time. And I know, Dr. Moore, you mentioned this kind of briefly about the master's and doctoral level programs that we have. But one person asked how our master's degrees can prepare someone for a doctoral program. So maybe you have something in addition to add to what you were saying about the different levels of education that we have here in educational ministries. Maybe someone's interested in an MAEM, but a different doctoral program.
Sure. I'll say something briefly about that, and I'll let Donald say something. Our grads go all kinds of places. I mean, we have grads that are in local church ministry. We have grads that are teaching in Christian schools. We have grads like Paula Chang, who is moving into our own PhD program here in educational ministries. A lot of that depends on sort of your own personal context and how our particular PhD program may fit into what your future is. Sometimes we have students that will take our program because they have had perhaps even another master's degree in business or something like that, but really have not had exposure to the world of education. So our program can help prepare in that particular way. When I get that question, I always ask people, where are you going to go for your doctoral program? And what you need to be doing is looking at what are the requirements that that institution requires for that particular terminal degree program. It varies tremendously on the institution, upon whether that's in a university context or a seminary context, and what the discipline is of that particular doctoral program. So that needs to be contextualized in so many ways. So that's a hard question to answer, but again, I would say look toward the PhD, see what they require, and then back off on how this program may or may not fit the requirements that they have. Dr. Guthrie.
Yeah, to add to that, I would say you should think about what kind of a learning community you're looking for. A program like ours is super strong intentionally to build in strong learning community around each person so that they receive and contribute mutually. The other thing I usually suggest to folks to think about is hoped for destination, like Dr. Moore said. Where are you going, not just with a degree, but where do you hope to minister, to serve? Collaborative setting, research setting, a church setting. There's all different kinds of contexts in which, like he said, our folk end up. So you want to think a little bit with the end in mind as you think about what sort of a context do I want to take this up in now.
Excellent.
Let me also lock into another question that you've had in terms of sort of advanced standing and how that fits in. If you've had some kind of formal or informal kind of educational background experience, like Bible study fellowship comes to mind. You know, some organizations have formal kinds of educational experiences that they work with people on. We're open to having a conversation with you about how that may fit into some advanced standing for a certain number of hours. We cannot give advanced standing simply on the basis of ministry or life experience, but we can help you think about possible application of some of that on the basis of either prior academic work or formal or non-formal kind of contextual learning. So that's a possibility too for some.
Great. Can I ask a follow-up question to that, Dr. Moore? Because one of our students on the call today submitted a question ahead of time. If I'm going to give you permission to dodge this if you want to answer this offline or in a one-on-one setting, but specifically with Child Evangelism Fellowship and the Children's Ministry Institute, is that something that would qualify for the kind of formal ministry training that might qualify for some advanced standing in the MAEM?
Yes, quite likely. We don't have a laundry list of particular programs. Again, we try to work with each student and what experience that they've had, and trying to affirm in a consistent way with precedent about what we can offer. But that kind of a program would be one such example, right?
Great. I think I'm going to stop sharing the screen. This is our last slide, so I'll stop sharing the screen and I'll hand it over to Alexander. And just a reminder, my preference is to be on gallery view at this time. So if you're toggling between speaker view and gallery view, it'd be nice to see everybody's faces on the screen right now. But Alexander, I'll give you the microphone and let you help us find out more about the wonderful students and recent graduates we have here, some of whom you've worked with.
Yeah, awesome. I'm just, curious to know what led you guys to Trinity, and maybe in answering that, add why did you choose this program? So, in answering that, you can talk about maybe a ministry that you were in that you thought this program were going to be helpful to it, or a ministry you thought God was going to call you into. But, just tell me a little bit why you chose Trinity and why this program. And then maybe we'll start with Justin, please.
Thanks. I chose Trinity because I do align strongly with Evangelical Free Church, and I appreciate both the EFCA and Trinity's commitment to the gospel, commitment to Jesus, and to God's word. And I've always, in ministry, I've been a youth pastor for 15 years. I've always wanted to have seminary and get further training, but I've never wanted to take the break from ministry, from full-time ministry. I started in full-time ministry at 21, and I kind of always looked for, can I get some training and learn more? And I've seen other seminaries offer stuff, but it just never felt quite right. The programs weren't there, and I kind of would keep an eye at TEDS, and but never really quite saw a program that would fit. And so about last year, around this time, a little bit earlier, I started to inquire about the program, and I think what really what drew me to it was the flexibility that it offers a flexibility in many ways, both in the courses that one takes and the ways to engage. I thought I would be 100% online student, and that when I had looked at different seminaries, that's really what I wanted. But I've ended up being about half online and half intensives, and that's worked out really well for me. And I like that this degree could be done fully on campus. You can do a lot with intensives, and you could do it fully online. So that's, as I've learned, I've continued to kind of see some of the gaps that I have in my personal life and ministry life, and then can kind of customize that. I could be strengthened for ministry if I learned more in this area. So yeah, the flexibility is really what drew me to it, and then the commitment to the gospel.
Thanks for sharing that. Before I let maybe one of my ladies answer this same question, you're using some terms. You said intensive. Maybe somebody's watching and don't understand what you mean by intensive. What's that?
Yeah, so there are in-person classes that, and I've taken two. This again, first year in. One was a 2-day class, so it's about 6 hours on a Friday night, and then another 6 hours on the next day, and it makes for a long weekend, and your brain is kind of mush afterwards. But really great in person. Like I remember getting done with that class and feeling sad that it was like a group of 16 people had come together and learned and grown together. So that was the intensive. And then the other another class was a 5-day format of with Dr. Carson, kind of exploding all of our minds over a week. And so that type of format of in-person learning over a short time.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
And Alexander, let me interrupt you real quick. We actually have another student in the program who's joining us now, so maybe we can ask them some questions as well. So I'll bring them on, and maybe at the right time we can work them into the conversation as well. Welcome, Lavdi.
Yeah, let me introduce you to Lavdi. Lavdi is a crew member with Mai, but while Mai is in the Philippines, Lavdi is in Tirana, Albania. So she has done the full program online from Albania. Amid earthquakes and all kinds of other fun things, she has jumped right in there. And you're in the second year of your program, Lavdi? Yeah, so she's about the same way. So good. So thanks for joining us, Lavdi. Alexander.
Nice. So as Justin was saying, he called it intensive. You will hear at some point that, somebody might mention modular. They're kind of the same, so these classes, before you come on campus, you have, a lot of reading and research to do. So even as you move to campus for those 2-3 days personal class, you will already have done a lot of reading. And then after those physical classroom contact, you will have, like your final project or research or assignment or paper to write. So this is one of the ways that you can be physically on campus, but not for a semester long, education. Okay, maybe I'll move to Paula. Paula, why did you choose Trinity, and then why this program, please?
Well, I came to Trinity because of my husband initially, and he just also graduated from his MDiv, and I wanted to study too, but I didn't know. I didn't know about Trinity before. My husband introduced me and told me before getting married that he was thinking of Trinity. So I went to Alexander, and I was also doubting between the MAEM or the Master in Education. So because I got an early childhood education back in Argentina, early childhood education degree in Argentina. I wanted to have more of a solid theological base to foundation to, as a Christian, be able to teach and have a Christian philosophy of ministry. Because I didn't have that kind of model before, and I didn't have someone that could help me in that. So yeah, I chose to go to EM, and it really was not only I was equipped with all the courses that I took with the theories and the things that the tools that we want to learn, but I was also transformed a lot, being how the professors themselves modeled the way of teaching that they are teaching to, which was really, yeah, that's life transforming. And having the opportunity to meet other classmates from all over the world and learning from them, their perspectives, was also unique. It's also a unique opportunity that I had, and I really appreciate. And yeah, so I came to TED without knowing, but then I got I entered to the EM, and now because of all this transformation, I just wanted to keep pursuing my calling, and I applied for the EDS program, the PhD program here. And yeah, this fall, I'm beginning.
Nice, nice. It looks like you have a lot of surprises going on for you. You tagged along with your husband, and now you completed a whole degree and then pursuing to a PhD, which is awesome. Awesome. I thank
Right.
God for your life right there. Maybe Maya, you want to also help tell me a little bit about why you chose Trinity and then why the EM program, please.
Yeah, so I first heard about Trinity from my father-in-law. He studied Trinity in the 1980s. So my husband and I, when we were thinking about studying, Trinity was on the top of our list. He was really pushing us to go to Trinity. And so we work with a parachurch organization, like what Dr. Moore said, with CRU, or Campus Crusade for Christ. So we wanted a program that was very maybe practical, because we saw that our calling was not really to pastor in a church, but to go on the field, in campuses and other sectors of society. So I actually first applied for the MA ministry program in TEDS too. And then in my first semester, I got an EM 5100 class under Dr. Moore, which was a very foundational glimpse of what educational ministry is. And then there I saw that it was a firm that I like to teach and teach others to teach. And I saw that even though I'm not a formal teacher like in an institution, I am a teacher. I am an educator. And so TEDS also allows you to get a dual program, and that's what I did. So I added on the EM program because I could finish it in the same amount of time that we were here in the US. And so I took a step of faith and and added the EM program. And I really appreciated the learning community that I was part of, not just with the students, but with the faculty. I agree that I learned what it is to be a teacher, an educator first, and how to relate that to our system, like the broader system. And I see that. So it was nice to have classes that were about me as a teacher, but also like there's like a micro and a macro. Wait, micro? Yeah, but the big picture, small picture, in terms of education and teaching others in a ministry context. And so I really appreciated that. I did also appreciate the modular or intensive classes that Justin said, because I got exposed to other classmates who weren't always on campus, but who were ministry practitioners. So it was so nice to be in the same room with people with diverse backgrounds, who were maybe teaching a college degree or a youth pastor or people I would not have encountered if I did not join that class or that program. And then I also like the mix of the biblical theological classes that really, it was challenging for me because I've never been to seminary before, but that really stretched my faith and really grew my relationship with the Lord. So I really appreciate that. It's also a short program that enables us to go back home and serve and apply them. And another thing I wanted to add is that a lot of the EM and ES classes had always a practical project as part of the class. So it's very helpful for those who have an actual ministry context because you can readily apply what you're learning that semester. And so in a way, you're also forced that you're not just the end of the things you're learning, but you have to pass it on. You have to try it out. And so I think I gained confidence to try new things and to see how God can use the things I'm learning personally in the lives of other people in a ministry or maybe wherever context you can apply that. So
That's very good. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Lavi, nice to meet you. I don't know if you were here before I asked the question. So the question that we're going through right now is why did you choose Trinity and why the Educational Ministries program?
I was here. I was behind the wall. I don't know. I couldn't be part of the panel. And then I went back and looked at all of the emails. So I'm so sorry. I was late, so I didn't look at the email. I just clicked the link to be a part of the webinar.
No, it's good. We're glad you're here.
As you see, I have an accent. I'm not a Native American. I am from Albania, an Albanian, and I'm working with Crew as well. I wanted to, as Mai said, I wanted to do something practical that I can apply directly to my ministry, and Christian education has been on my mind for for a long time. My husband is an alumni at DTS. So at first I was looking at DTS, but they have a Christian education program, but you have to go there for one semester, and they had a lot of theological stuff. So I didn't want it to go there. So when I enrolled, there were only 3 classes about the Bible, and Dr. Moore, now there are 4. It's not fair. So I was looking at the options, and my husband told me about the Trinity. I look at the program, and I will not exaggerate if I would say I fell in love with the program because it was short, and the classes, like as I said, look like from the title at least, very, very practical, and I liked it because sometimes when you study Christian education, you have to narrow it for children or for adults or for teenagers, and this had a broader perspective because I work with Crew, I work with all sort of people. Actually, I am doing an online ministry, so we have to share the gospel from the teenager to 100 years old if they have a smartphone and if they are part of a social media. So this semester I'm taking a class. Paula, you need to help me here. I forgot that it's biblical theology, but I don't remember the department, and I don't remember. It's 5,000, I think. Yes.
I think you're talking about ID 5000.
Yes, it is not part of the EM.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different organized for me, at least, because the EM classes are really well organized. And as Mai said, the projects that you have to do are really like you can apply them directly to your field. So but this class is a little bit different, but also theology is not my strength. So it's I am surviving.
Can I pick up on a couple themes that you've heard here that, somebody said about the distinctive of Trinity?
Yeah, please.
And one distinctive is this very thing that we do take this broad approach. And we do. The other thing is a lot of institutions are canceling their Christian education programs. What we have is unique. And what we have is unique in terms of being able to deliver fully online to all kinds of places around the world. Not only do we have Lavdi in Albania, we have a student in Kenya, we have a student in Myanmar, we have a student in Nepal. So we're doing these kinds of things to come alongside persons who, as you notice, all four of these people here in front of us have had some experience in ministry, but they've come to ministry through different kinds of avenues and not necessarily through a Bible college education. And so we want to come alongside wherever people are at and enable them further in ministry, because after you've been in ministry a few years, you have some questions that we want to talk about. And so that's what we're here for, is to come alongside those kind of people, regardless of where they are in the world and even what time zone they're in. We have 6 time zones in my summer class, which is a real challenge.
Cool. Maybe before I hand it back to Dr. Moore, since you know these students, you know, they've been in your class, you might have some questions you want to throw at them. Before I let you do that, I was curious to know, you know, sometimes you read stuff on the website, or, you know, people convince you to do certain things and you do them and you are shocked, like you're surprised. So, and sometimes it turned out to be what you saw. So I guess my question is, you know, reading about Trinity, maybe somebody telling you about it, now you made the step to really physically come or even do it online. You've taken classes. Would you say that maybe what you were told and what you've come to experience, they're matching? And do you like your experience so far? You know, like what you read on their website that got you interested. Man, I'm going to Trinity. I'm going to go study there. Now, having been a student, what has been your experience like in the classroom, and what have you liked so far?
I'll jump
Justin,
in first, but
please.
I think, you know, what I saw a little bit as I was looking at Trinity was the idea that it would help me to contextualize ministry wherever God calls me. And I found that to be even more true than what I would realize. And what I mean by that is I get to learn from people who are in Myanmar and Africa, you know, places that I can't even pronounce. I can't pronounce necessarily these colleagues' names, you know, and people in Washington. And God has used it to expand my understanding of ministry, where I think so often we have such a narrow scope of ministry. And to be able to learn from people who have very different perspectives has been amazing. I think that has been a truth that I was told about, but it has been even truer than what I thought. And just to kind of the collaboration, I didn't necessarily see that this would be possible, but the collaboration both with professors and students, I think, is even greater than online and modular, has been greater than what I experienced at least undergrad of, I have deeper relationships, and I didn't know that would necessarily be possible. So having relationships with someone in South Korea and in Washington State, that's been really good for me as I've learned and grown with them.
Thanks for sharing. I really appreciate that. Paula.
Yeah, I become nervous when I speak, so I missed something when I was presenting myself, and when I was sharing why I chose the MAEM, and that was because I really like and I love serving in children ministry, and that's why I maybe people miss that part, that while I was serving, I knew that maybe psychological or other theories, but I didn't have that strong foundation in Bible. So that was one thing I missed to say. And then another thing that it was that, as Dr. Moore said, that we have different concentrations, and it prepares you not only for the ministry that you are in, but also to it really expands your side of what ministry is. In my case, I entered the program expecting to get tools for children ministry and know people that that could explain me or share with me about children ministry. But actually, it ended up that I took classes like older adult ministry with older adults or other different generations that I was not interested in the beginning, and it just helped me grow in love for and interest for other generations that actually are all interwoven, the generations. So it really helped me to see a broader and to broaden my side of ministry.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that. Really appreciate it. So just in few, let's say 60 seconds, we'll have you, your father-in-law having graduated from here, he graduated in the 80s. Things probably might have changed. He's like, go to Trinity, go to Trinity. You made a step physically, move from your home country to here. Would you say the things that he told you about, the things that he convinced you about, you've come to realize they were true or not? What have you liked so much about Trinity and about the program?
Yeah, it was more than what I expected to experience. I think one big thing was that I found a voice in Trinity. I was able to share my thoughts in a safe community and to be able to think about those things. It was very helpful. And so I really appreciate that and would recommend people to study in Trinity if you wanted to grow as a person, as a minister, and just in terms of your relationship with God.
That's good. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. Lavi, would you mind to tell me what you have come to love or what you've come to experience about Trinity?
I had no expectation because I am an online student. Even my friends were like, are you going to do an online school? Is this real? How do you do it? But so I had no expectations rather than to learn more. So I only have good words to say. Really, this has been an extraordinary experience for me. I am miles away from America, and what Justin said, having this community, even though you are doing this school online, it's incredible. Like I've shared this in another Zoom meeting. I have a friend which we are really close, and I think we will still be connected to each other even though we are not at the same class. We work together. We happen to be in 2 classes together, but we had this special connection from the first class, and we at the second class she wrote the professor, oh, can I be at the same team with Avdi? And so we happen to be at the same team again. And if I ever come to America, I can go and knock at her door without calling her. And if she ever comes to Albania, she can come and knock at my door without even calling me. So this has been one of the community. I mean, like Justin said, I've been learning so much from other cultures as well. At the last class, I think Dr. Moore, we were 6 or 7 different time zones. It was so difficult for Dr. Cox to put us into groups together. That's how, and to find a Zoom that fit for everybody. So the other thing, like Paula, I get nervous also when I talk. So I had another point, but I cannot recall.
It's all right. I think this is very important. I thank you for sharing that. The relationship that goes to eternity. That you develop here. I think is very important. So thank you for sharing that. Did you remember? It looks like you remember.
Yes, I did.
Oh, yeah, please. Go ahead.
I am an organized person, so I like things organized.
Okay.
And every module, every class has been so organized. It's so easy to find everything you need. And even though I am an online student, is just like I am on campus also. I don't know how to explain this more. Like I am not on campus, but everything is like, it's very easy to find a material, or it's very easy to reach the professors. I think when my husband was at the seminary in Dallas, I tease him. Yeah, we have this fight. Who is the best seminary? So I tell him, look, I write an email to my professor, and he will respond right away. You had to plan to go to meet your professor anyway, but it's very easy to and connect with other students as well, as I said. So having everything organized and make it very easier for me to, I just need only to study. It's really important to me, because we are not on campus, and I have a ministry, and I have a family, and I am a daughter, a sister, you know. So you can get really easy distracted, but having everything organized and easy to access has been one of the highlights for me too.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
I know time's fleeting, but could I ask one quick question? And you gave him 60 seconds. I'm not going to give him that much. I'm going to give you guys 3 words. But if I could have each of you, this is a sort of a sales promotion, right? We want people to enroll in the MAEM. So 3 words of why I should enroll in the MAEM. Only 3 words. Okay, you know me, right? 3 words why I should enroll in the MAEM. And then we should give Dr. Guthrie a chance to say a final word, and then I'll say a short final word, and then we'll be done. So who's first on the 3 words?
Wow.
See, we got to give them time to think. So I have to let's hear Donald's kind of final point here first. And he can fill in some time while you're thinking of the 3 words.
I'm really tempted to say my 3 words are Dr. Jim Moore, but I'll think of other things.
How much do I owe you?
Yeah, really. I've appreciated what everybody shared. I feel like that's been my experience too, to put it that way. The Lord's given us an incredible gift of a strong, collaborative, loving community. And it's really a joy to both participate in it, to help lead it, and to contribute. It's been a joy in my life. So that's what I'd want to say.
Yeah.
I'm going to say mine before they steal it. So head, heart, hands. God uses Trinity to grow our head, our knowledge, our love for Him, and then our skills.
Thanks, Justin.
Mine would be a healthy learning environment.
Healthy learning environment. Thanks for sharing that.
Why would you say that, Mai?
Well, because there's a balance of being able to share what you think to do, and how there's a grace when you fail your attempts, but there's also the accommodating grace from faculty and classmates in terms of just being able to explore a topic that you want to try, or it's even in terms of what God is teaching you and being able to share that in a class, even though it's not really the topic, there's space to be able to do that. So it's a healthy learning environment. So yeah, those are my 3 words.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Paula or Lavdi, 3 words? Paula?
Okay, I go. Learn, be, and share. With learn, I refer to not only learning academically, but also being open to what God will teach each of us. And the be, I refer to you're going to experience transformation. I can guarantee that. And then share, I was really encouraged to share a lot things that I thought it won't be helpful, and I have been encouraged and I have been taught to contribute. It was really helpful to learn how to value our own experiences and our own context and our unique contributions that we can share with other people, and also being open to, not only me sharing, but also others sharing, and being open to listen to that.
That's good. That's good. Bobby?
I don't know if this is not a problem, but like this is a word in like I would say great learning, but I don't know if this is English or Albanian English, and very practical learning. And I want to echo Dr. Guthrie, Dr. Moore. One of the reasons I was really excited to start the seminary was after we had Zoom together when I was just had enrolled. So thank you so much for making this very easy.
Thank you to the four of you for contributing today. And I just want to echo what Lavdi said. If you have other questions, thanks for letting us into your home for these minutes together, and hopefully hearing from the students. Like Dr. Guthrie said, that's why we're here. We want to come alongside you all and do whatever we can to empower you in your ministry context. So please email us, email admissions, or you can email me directly, jmoore@tiu.edu, and we'll do our best to answer questions that you have. And thank you for this time today. Thank you to the admissions team for allowing us to put this together.
Maybe before we go, I don't know, Ryan, you were tracking the question. Is there any question from the people watching that you think we should answer?
Well, yeah, I think it might be worth taking just a couple of minutes. There might be a couple of questions. Dr. Moore, there's one question for you, kind of clarifying something that was said earlier about the CF and CMI. You know, you might want to just restate your answer. I know that you attempted to answer that earlier. We just might want to restate that again here. If there's a possibility of getting some academic credits for that training.
Yes, yes, I would say that that's the kind of program that we're talking about. Sort of formal kinds of experiences one have had that has not been, you've not received sort of formal credit for. We want to look at those things and see if there's a possibility of that. And we work with each student in terms of what their particular experiences are.
Great. No, I appreciate that. And again, let me encourage you to reach out to Dr. Moore directly if you need some more information or want to have an offline conversation. That opportunity is available. And I thank you for being available, Dr. Moore. A couple of other quick questions. Here's a question for you, Alexander. You're my scholarship guru. So the question was what kind of scholarships are available, but I'm going to break that up into two short questions, which is for international students and for domestic students, because there might be different scholarship opportunities for international and for U.S. citizens.
Yeah, that's a good question. We do have scholarships for both international students and domestic students. Almost all the scholarships that we give, it doesn't, you know, it's not like you're an international student so you can't get it, except for FAFSA, which is, you know, federal aid. You have to be a U.S. citizen or, you know, green card holder to have. But institutional scholarship, we really give to both domestic and international students. We have special consideration for international students, knowing that, you know, people come from different countries that, you know, the dollar value might be higher and stuff like that. So we have even special scholarship for international students, especially people serving in countries that are, so to say, hard. You know, the gospel is really needed there. So we kind of want to invest in those students to come get the education and go serve God in their home country. Usually I love to tell students that scholarships, you can plan on an average of 30% scholarship. It can go higher than that. It can fall a little below than that. And it is basically based on your academic achievements. So your GPA from your undergrad or your recent education, how well you did, place in it, and also your leadership experience. So, you know, if you serve in a church capacity or in a capacity, we will want to honor your leadership experience. So both academic and leadership experience, we honor that. So that's what I love to tell students. And I also love to tell students, like, aside scholarship, you can plan your academic, you know, expenses. You can break it into three, where one will be scholarship you receive from Trinity. The next one will be, you know, work. We have a lot of jobs on campus for students. You know, you can work with the facility office. You can work with our dining services. You can work with a library. You can work even in our office, in the admissions office as Trinity ambassador. You can work closely with a professor as your graduate assistants. You know, these are ways that you can raise income for yourself whilst you go to school. And you can take also the last portion, I call it family, friends, and church. So if you're part of the church that want to invest, they believe in the calling that God has called you into, and they want to sow into your ministry. If the church want to sponsor you, that's great. Whatever they give you, if the church is affiliated with the EFCA church, when I say EFCA, I mean the Evangelical Free Church of America. If your church is affiliated with that, whatever they give you from $1 to 2,000 US dollar, Trinity matches that. If your church is a non-denomination or any denomination outside the EFCA church, whatever they give you from $1 to 1,000, Trinity matches that. Family can support you, and then you can also take like student loan if you want to go that route. So these are ways that students are able to finance themselves as they go through Trinity education.
Thank you, Alexander. There's one follow-up question, or not follow-up, but one question that's related to something that you mentioned, which is somebody asked what jobs are available on campus. And this is an international student asking this question. I'm going to do my best to answer this, but I'm going to ask if anybody wants to chime in. My perspective, and I'm new to Trinity here, but my perspective is any student who wants a job can have a job. We will help them find a job on campus. And the first group we serve is probably the international students, because an international student coming to the Chicago area on a student visa cannot work off campus.
Right.
One of the proudest moments I've had as an employee of Trinity is almost 3 months ago to the day, Trinity closed its doors because of a virus and sent students home who could go home. There were some international students who could not go home, or they could not afford to go home, and they could not work off campus. We did a special funding, a special campaign, raise special funds to hire every single international student who needed to work during this pandemic, because maybe their family member had lost an income or something like that. And every single person who wanted a job received a job. We started with international students, but I believe the same is true for US citizens as well. If you want to work, we will find a way for you to participate on campus, but certainly campus jobs are available. There are a lot of off-campus jobs available for students who don't require a visa as well. Trinity is in a very, it's a suburban environment, very safe environment, very safe college town. And Maya, you were talking about that earlier, about it being a safe environment, but also theologically safe. And there are tens of thousands of, maybe hundreds of thousands of jobs within 10 miles of campus, and companies who are hiring year round. So lots of jobs are available for US citizens and for international students, and international students are able to work on campus.
I'm
curious if any students on the call, have any of you had a job? Now, some of you are taking all of your classes online or internationally, but has anybody had a job, or has anybody been able to work while you're enrolled as a student?
Oh man, I did that. I work on campus. I work with the facility, like mowing grasses, pushing snow. I did all of those. And I work also off campus. I work at a Chick-fil-A, not too far from Trinity campus, like 10-minute drive or less, so I work off campus at a Chick-fil-A whilst I was a student. So like you said, there are jobs on campus and then off campus for domestic students. If you're international students, like Ryan said, we'll love to create a job for you, so that at least you'll be able to get some type of income as you go to school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my husband worked with that dining services. It's nice to work with dining because if you work there, you also have free food. So a lot of international students do that. So that's a good opportunity for those staying in campus.
Great. Well, I appreciate you helping out. And I'm just really encouraged by everybody who joined today. Thank you for those who watched us and stuck with us for a whole hour. And we'll be sending this a link to this recording out so you can look back on this if you need to in the future. But I think we'll dismiss there. Several of us have said our goodbyes, so thank you so much. We appreciate your time. God bless you. God keep you safe, and we hope to see you face to face sometime soon, everybody.
Thank you,
Bye-bye,
Ryan.
everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all, students. God's blessings on you.